So it's been a long time, I think, since Missouri football was the sexy team going into the season, one that every top 10 rankings has you guys somewhere in there, especially going into a season with an expanded college football playoff. It's the first time I've heard at an SEC media day a Missouri coach have to kind of temper some expectations. But if you're being real about how you feel about this team, what do you think you have in 2024?
Well, it depends. It depends if you ask the sports writers or you ask the creators of College Football 25. They don't think we're very good, so maybe they know more than we do. But I think we have a talented, competitive football team. But the reality of it is that doesn't make anything. You're going to have to go out there and prove it on the football field. And that's kind of the same thing I told our players about that whole college football game. Like, who cares, man? Like, what really matters is how much we develop during the month of August, and then what do we prove each Saturday. And I think the unique and exciting thing about college football now is without divisions, it's clearly going to be after 12 games, you put your record up, and this body of whoever it is going to decide who are the 12 best teams that we think deserve a shot to compete in the playoffs. And if we know anything from the NFL is that if you make the playoffs, anything can happen. And if you can get hot, it's the right matchups, anybody can win. And so for us, it's clearly about being competitive, having the competitive depth that we need, and then focus on being 1-0 each week.
Have you played the college football game, or are you just dealing with the fact that every player around the country got the game instantaneously and are all like, what is this? What are we doing here? This is what they think of us?
No, I don't have time to play that game, and if I did, I'd get my butt whipped. But I can coach, so it would probably be better for me if I had somebody else play the game, and I just coach them on what I want them to do. It's kind of like me as a player. I'm a terrible player, but coaching is something that I like.
So tell me about your offense. You got a lot of starters back on that side of the football. Yeah. You got a guy like Luther Burden, who's a really, really good player. What's kind of the upside, and what's your biggest challenge on that side of the ball here in 2024?
Yeah, I think the biggest upside is the amount of starting experience we have coming back. I've got a 3-year starter at quarterback returning, Brady Cook, who is very efficient, takes care of the football, very athletic, runs the ball very well, can beat you in multiple ways. I've got the deepest wide receiver room that I've ever had, and one of the most talented wide receiver rooms in the country. It starts obviously with Luther Burden. Everybody knows returning 1,000-yard receiver, potential NFL prospect. But right next to him is Theo Weiss, who I credit with really the maturation of that room. Theo Weiss is a very good, faster than you think football player, an excellent deep ball wide receiver, can single up and run routes on anybody. You got Mookie Cooper on the outside. You got Marquise Johnson, who's one of the fastest players in college football. Josh Manning, Mekhi Miller. You got Courtney Crutchfield, who is the number one wide receiver number one wide player in the state of Arkansas. So James Madison, coming from St. Thomas Aquinas. That room is really deep. Combined with an experienced quarterback, you have to have the ability to be explosive on offense. And then we have a tight end who is a freshman All-American, Brett Norfleet, who I think is a complete tight end, NFL prospect, if there's ever been one. Blocks is as physical in the run game as any tight end I've ever been around, but he's got incredible hands. With all that being said, I know this is an NFL-driven show. We all know that in order to win football games at a high level, the biggest challenge is the O-line and running backs. We're replacing a left tackle who was drafted in the 4th round by the Jacksonville Jaguars, a left guard who signed a free agent deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and obviously the SEC's leading rusher, Cody Schrader. So that's really where we have to develop a set of chemistry and understanding, because we all know there's going to be times when the pass game's not working. You're going to have to be able to run the ball. And we talk about in the 4th quarter, you got to run to win. And so that's where we've got to really decide and figure out how we can be at the best. Now, I still think we're very capable at those positions. Our center started 22 games last year. Our right guard has 29 career starts. Our right tackle's got 18 career starts. I think he's the best right tackle in the SEC, which would make him the best right tackle in the country, Armand Membu. I think the left tackle, Marcus Bryant, started 29 games, 2-time all-conference player at an AAC institution, so transferring up to the SEC. What's the adjustment there? Caden Green, left guard, started 6 games as a true freshman. So the ability's there. It's just the cohesiveness, the togetherness, who's going to emerge as the leader. Are we going to be able to sustain competitive excellence if there's an injury? That's probably the biggest challenge at the offensive side of the ball.
I don't want to give away, your approach 43 days out from Murray State, but it sure seems like the way you're describing this roster, you've got a team that people are going to fear the pass, and you guys have kind of created running backs and created a running game with regardless who's in the backfield. Am I fair? Is it fair to say that?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair assessment. And we've got some elite players at the running back position. I mean, we got 2 transfers, Marcus Carroll and Nate Noel, who both were their leading rushers at their respective teams last year. We've got Keywan Lacey, who was one of the elite running backs in this class, who is coming in as a true freshman, and Tavares Jones and Jamal Roberts consistently do the things that they're asked to do. So there's plenty of talent in that room, but I do think you're going to have the ability to be feared because of the threats you have at wide receiver and a quarterback. But if you can effectively run the ball, man, you really have an offense that is dynamic, and that changes the game.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.